My name is Mark Hummel, and this is Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party. And we have my good friend and drummer extraordinaire, June Core, sitting here. And we have a whole lot of stories we're going to get into with June. He's played with an amazing array of great musicians over his career. And you've been nominated for a Blues Award this year, is that right?
Yeah, this year.
The Blues, is it the 7th?
Yeah.
Wow, well, it's about time you won. Yeah.
Not up to me.
Well,
But
anyway,
yeah.
I'm glad you've been nominated that
yeah,
many times.
man,
That's awesome.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
So we'll just kind of get back into our when we first met, but first I want to kind of get into your past history because you moved out from Cleveland, and Cleveland is where you started playing drums. You were pretty young when you started, right?
Yeah, well, I started when I was 17. Started playing when I
Right.
was 17, but it came pretty quick, you know.
And you got the gig, as I recall, was Robert Jr. Lockwood and
Yeah.
Johnny the very first gig, or not?
Well, no. I was playing around town. I was playing, you know, and I played with this guy. I can't remember his name. He was a piano player, big guy, and he heard me practicing in the basement. He stopped and knocked on my door and asked my mom, you know, who's that playing drums? And she said, it's my baby, and blah blah blah. So I came upstairs. I met him, and he asked me if I wanted to work, you know, for money, and I was like, sure. And I was 17 still, I had just started playing, and so he asked my mom if I could play, you know. She said, well, he grown, you know, he can do what he wants. So I started playing duo gigs, just me and him, in this club in downtown Cleveland. But because I was underage, the bartender, who was really cute, you know,
Right.
was looking after me and taking care of me, and, you know, making sure I wasn't drinking and, you know, doing whatever.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So, and then how long was it before you got the Robert Jr. gig?
Well, it was another 2 years, I believe. I was playing around town with different like funk bands and a little bit of jazz and and things. I was trying to learn, you know, as I was going, and it was a lot to do, you know. But I mean, I had nothing else to do, and so I was really into learning. And I played with this guy named Eddie Backus, who was an organ player, blind organ player. Somehow I got turned on to him, and so I would go pick him up, and we'd carry a big Leslie in a big organ
Right.
down these long stairs.
Fun.
Just me and him, you know. But he knew the place so well, you know.
Yeah.
And we'd get it down there, and, you know, stuff it in the trunk, and the trunk was open and everything.
Jeez.
And then
Aren't you glad you don't play organ?
if I had to do it again, I'd play the spoons or something.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
whistle.
exactly. Yeah, that's even worse than drums.
Yeah, well, drums is great, but he would tell me how to get to the gigs, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, we'd go and he'd
Yeah.
be doing this, and I go,
Yeah.
well, how? He goes, I'll tell you when to turn. He goes, at the next light,
That's crazy.
turn left, you know. But he'd tell me how to get to every single gig we were.
I used to hear about that about Sam Myers, too.
Yeah,
he'd
somehow.
do that. Yeah.
They know, you
Yeah,
know.
that's crazy.
But he turned me on to.
Now, was he jazz?
He was blues, funk, and soul, a little bit of jazz. But he played a lot of organ, like Jimmy Smith, Jimmy McGriff, you know, like
Right.
really, you know, cool, just way cool stuff.
Yeah.
That I was just learning and getting into. And him and Robert were friends, and Robert needed a drummer, and Eddie said, hey, you know, if you don't use this guy, I'll never speak to you again. Of course, he was kidding.
Right.
And Robert calls me up and he says, Junior, my name's Robert Jr. Lockwood. You know who I am? I'm going, no. Because I'd never heard of him before.
Yeah.
And he says, well, I'm a guitar player and I'm going on the road and I need a drummer in 2 days, you know. It's a week gig in Buffalo, New York at the Brass Rail. And I said, well, okay, well, let me call you back. He goes, okay, well, you call Eddie and make sure, you know, everything's cool, and then call me back. So I called Eddie. I said, hey, Eddie. He said, do it. Click. And so I called Robert back, and I said, well, okay. So he said, come over to the house and get some albums and, you know, listen to them. and then we'll go. So no rehearsal, no nothing. I went over and met him, and I'm thinking, this old guy, I don't know about this. And so I got the albums. It was Does 12 and a couple others albums. And so I went home and I put them on stereo, and I was like, no, I hate this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But
man.
I was thinking, I'll just do this 1 week and get some money, and I'll never do this again because I'm not digging it,
Yeah.
And that was the start of playing with Robert. 2 days later, we were in the van headed to Buffalo. We get to Buffalo, and I'm thinking, well, Johnny Shines was in the.
Oh, Johnny Shines was
in the van too, and I didn't know either of them,
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of, this kid going, oh man,
Who are these old guys?
Yeah, basically with the old man noises and things.
Right.
And so, but thing was, they weren't that old back then. I was just that much younger than they were.
Yeah.
And so we get to the gig, and the night comes. We're playing. Of course, I had the room with Robert.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
Wow.
I was not actually. I wasn't quite. I was like 18 maybe. And so anyway, I roomed with Robert and Johnny. It was like a suite,
Yeah.
And so we go to the gig. Start the gig, they're playing, this great old blues stuff, but I didn't know anything about it, so I'm putting on my funk drums, I try a little jazz stuff, and it's not working, and people, kind of leaving and looking, disgusted. And so we got fired that night.
Wow.
Yeah, we got fired, and Robert told the club owner. And in fact, I was sitting there, the club owner as well. I'm sorry, Mr. Lockwood. This is not what I expected, and I'm sorry. I'm going to have to let you guys go. So Robert said, "Well, I tell you what you do. You open the club. Let us practice tomorrow. A couple hours, whatever, and then we'll play tomorrow night. And if you still don't like it, you just pay us for the one night, and we'll be on our way."
Wow.
So we go in the club the next day in this narrow, long broom closet. Me, Robert, and Johnny, and within a matter of maybe 15 minutes, I'm going to say, 20 minutes at the very most, they taught me 5 different shuffles. He said, you'll use these for the rest of your life.
Wow.
And it was so simple to me because I was used to playing,
complex
stuff, I started, getting into Latin, rhythms and things, And so it was so simple, but I said, okay, and we went that night and just tore the place down.
Wow.
Sold out. We tore it down.
Wow.
And finished that whole week engagement.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that was the start of me
Yeah.
playing with Robert and Johnny and learning about the blues.
Right.
Yeah.
And for people that don't know it out there, Robert Jr. Lockwood was pretty much he was the stepson of Robert Johnson, who everyone knows, and then he was also the studio guitar player at Chess Records and played on the majority of Lil Walter, Sonny Boy Williamson, played with Muddy Waters, Eddie Boyd, so many other Chicago greats, and was really kind of the guy that wrote the book on backing a blues harmonica, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, and then Johnny Shines was also somebody that traveled with Robert Johnson in his younger days and was a tremendous country blues guitar player and singer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
so
these guys, they got together and you guys had some Grammy Award-winning albums, as I recall. Right?
The first album I did with them, called Hanging On, won Handy Award.
Handy Award, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe Grammy-nominated. It might have been Grammy-nominated.
Yeah.
Grammy-nominated,
at that time, I really didn't know much of anything,
But how long were you with those guys?
8 years.
And traveling all over the world or all over the country or what?
All over the country.
All the country.
Yeah, I never.
Canada? Did you guys go up to Canada?
We went to Canada a lot, and a lot here in the States. And I never. I was supposed to do that album live in Japan.
Oh, right.
But Bilo was sick, and so Robert said, "Hey, you know, I think you might have a chance to come and do this." And it turns out, you know, Bilo, you know,
did the album.
Yeah, he got.
Okay,
he felt
so that
better.
was where the Aces backed him up.
Right.
Okay. Right. All right. That's a great album.
Yeah,
That's a wonderful album.
I know.
And the other thing you mentioned was about Willie Dixon doing some gigs with you guys and him instructing you on how to play with an upright.
Yeah, we first went to played I think it was the first Delta Mississippi Blues Festival.
Right.
And so we're all on the bus. It was me, of course, Robert Johnny, Willie Dixon, Albert Collins, his whole band. And we're on the bus, and everybody's like real nice and, you know, cordial. And, you know, I'm like this young guy. I don't know anybody, you know what I mean? I'm just odd man out.
Right.
So we do the gig. Months later, you know, we're doing another tour. Willie's on on 2 or 3 of the gigs. And so Willie's like, hey, you know, I know you. I know, because Robert introduced Willie, how you doing? He goes, yeah, I heard about you. And I'm like, okay, I don't know, you know, but okay. And we play a couple tunes. He goes, yeah, He goes, look, this is what you do. When I do this, you can do that. And then he said, you know, when I start this, you know, you can think like this and you can finish this. Or you notice when you start a build or field, then I know what's going on and I do this, that, and the other. And so I learned
kind of the conversations.
The conversation, And it was so cool, man, because he was like, but to watch him, how big he was, you know, because I was still the same size.
He made the bass look small.
His hands, man, there's a picture of me and him where he's got his hands, his palm is back here.
Right.
And his fingers are up here, you know, like it's covered my whole head, you know.
Yeah.
He was that big, but he was a sweetheart of a guy, man.
Yeah. And all 3 of those guys went way back to the 40s, probably.
Oh, I'd hear all the stories.
If not the 50s. If not the 50s.
I'd hear all these stories. Of course, I didn't know because I was
I know.
Kid. And I was
That's the thing you kind of kick yourself about.
Oh man! Oh wow! Yeah, definitely.
You lasted with him for 8 years, and then eventually, what made you move out to California?
I actually moved to New York first for 2 years. We had a residency there. And, several clubs we'd play. 1 month on, a month off, month on, month off, you know, and they kept coming home, but I didn't want to come home.
So that was with Robert and Johnny?
Robert and Johnny,
Okay.
So I stayed in New York.
Oh, really? Wow.
For the length of that. And then that ended, and I loved New York so much, I was just going to stay there, you know.
Yeah.
But my stepdad at the time was, you know, had cancer, and he was not doing well, so I went back to Cleveland for a couple of years. I just didn't want to be there anymore. So I came out to California and started looking for work. But Robert gave me these numbers of people to contact. It was you, Bird Hill. And, you know, he called these numbers and tell them, you know, that I recommended you and blah, blah. Yeah. And so I'm sorry, Mark. Let me know if this is
Go ahead.
personal.
You can embarrass me. I don't mind.
So I first see, I meet Bert, and I say, hey, Bert, you know, my name's June Core. I just moved here from Cleveland. And he's like, uh-huh. And I said, Robert Jr. Lockwood gave me a number. He goes, who? I said, Robert Jr. Lockwood. He goes,
yeah.
And he walked away.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was like somebody coming up and going, you know, God just spoke to me. He said,
I didn't get
he said
that. Yeah, right. He told me
said to give you my number. And yeah.
I didn't get that. And then, of course, I met you at the JJ's. And so you guys had just finished a blister and set. It was great. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And the thing was, I didn't know anybody and didn't have much transportation, but I made my way to these places. So I get there and I'm waiting outside, and then you come out and you're all sweaty, and I say, hey, Mark Hummel. You said, yeah. I said, hey, you know, I just moved here from Cleveland, and you goes, okay, and I said, you was like doing your shirt because you're all sweaty.
I vaguely remember this.
and I said, well, Robert Jr. Lockwood gave me a number, and he said to look you up when I got here. You said, who? I said, Robert Jr. He said, Robert Jr. Lockwood. I said, yeah, and then you just turned around and walked off.
That's how you're doing. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I turned around and walked off,
Sure
and I'm
he
thinking, did these guys hate Robert or what? You know, what is this?
No, we're in awe of Robert.
I was thinking like,
We didn't think it was real. That's the problem.
I thought, you know, it was like me saying some convict, you know,
Right. Right. Charles Manson told me to look
Yeah.
you up. Charles Manson said to look you up, and
Yeah,
you
you know.
might have an extra ice pick around.
Well, that was how I took, because I didn't
Right.
know, you know.
Right. That's funny.
And then I got into this. Finally, money was kind of getting tight, and I've got this gig with this guy Art Doherty.
Oh, right.
Remember
right.
Art?
I sure
In
do,
the
yes.
Flying Saucers.
Right.
So we're playing this.
Give you
club.
your matching drum set, a matching suit.
Yeah, I had to
and
play
yeah,
his kit.
right. Exactly.
So we play a gig, and I wasn't quite used to the West Coast style.
Right.
You know, it's a little,
Swing.
there's a slight difference. We're at a club playing, and I was talking about the difference between West Coast and East Coast.
East Coast.
swing.
Yeah, right.
That
right.
little slight thing.
Right.
And so I was noticing that something was just a little bit off, you know, but I was starting to figure it out. So we finished the night, but it went well. And the club owner and a friend were talking, and the guy, you know, didn't, you know, it was a racial talk.
Wow,
you know?
really?
And, yeah,
Wow.
and the guy was like, hey, you know, if this guy's going to be in here tomorrow, I'm not coming back, you know, and I'm going to just, you know, like tell people don't go.
This is what the club owner said?
Their friend, the club owner's friend.
Oh.
And so he didn't know that I heard this. So he went directly to Art and said, hey, if that guy's really tomorrow, don't bother coming back.
Wow.
And so Art came to me, who also didn't know that I heard what, you know, was transpiring, said, hey, you know what, you're not quite cutting it, so I'm going to have to let you go. So, you know, don't bother showing up tomorrow. So he fired me.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I left and went home, and then eventually I met Paul Durquette
Okay.
and did some gigs with Paul, because he said,
Paul was another training ground for
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of musicians.
well, that's what he was saying, you know.
yeah,
Hey, you know,
he was. Yeah.
But Paul didn't really have much to teach me. At that point, I was figuring out what
Right.
the difference was, you know, between East Coast and West Coast swing. Fast forward up to like the Soul Drivers and all of that, which was a great run. No, that was after you.
That was after me.
Yeah.
Full
So
drivers
fast
were
forward
after.
to
So yeah, we
you,
played
yeah.
together. I want to say we played together from '86
Yeah, it was
to
2
'88.
years, just
Yeah.
over 2 years.
Yeah, a little over 2 years, and then I started reworking with you again in
Yeah.
'90. I remember, and
Right.
it's kind of been off and on ever since then.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. All good
Yeah.
though, all good.
Yeah. But I remember when you joined, Jimmy Bott had just quit to
To
join
go
the
to-
Mighty Flyers.
Right, that's right.
And I had like 2 weeks to find a drummer
Yeah.
to go on my first European tour. I think I might have called you up because
think
you
you
had given
did.
me your number,
I
and
think
I
you did.
called
At
you up
another
and said,
Not
I
the
don't
first
remember.
night.
I don't
do.
remember.
I'm
but I
sorry.
just remember, that you
Yeah, I
ended
think
up
you did.
you ended up in the band immediately at that point, and
Yeah.
and stayed with us till '88.
Yeah.
And I pretty much burned you out on the road. That's what I remember.
Well, we were on
we
the road
were on
quite
the
a
road
bit.
big time,
Finland and
big
Sweden.
time.
And
Well, no, I mean just all the U.S.
all the
tours we
U.S.
did.
stuff was
Yeah,
that was.
'cause, I
that
mean,
was
I
heavy, too.
remember the one with Dave told me that was like a 12-week tour or something. No, it was ridiculous. We did a bunch of really long tours.
That was a 12-week
yeah.
tour. Yeah.
And I remember at the end of that, I could see the look on your face, and I could see you were exhausted. And I think somehow, you said something like, "Well, I think I'm done for a little while."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been doing this long enough by that time that I said, I kind of realized when people had their fill of, how much road work you can do. But I mean, I think at that point you had been on the road an awful lot.
Yeah.
I think you had been on the road, like, before you moved to the Bay Area. Hadn't you been on the road with these other bands that were, like, traveling all over?
Yeah, but one of the singers was in the band, in the Drifters, and so I toured with them for some time, And then I was stuck on the road for a year.
I remember that. I remember you told me about
in this band called Blue Money.
Right, and you guys ended up in some town in Colorado or something, and nobody had any money, and it was
There was
just
several times
incredible
where we
stories.
wound up with no money.
Yeah.
that was a test.
You went from my band into the Soul Drivers with Andy Santana
Yeah,
and Mike
right,
Shermer.
right.
You got in Little Charlie. What year did you make the move to Charlie's band?
It was after '94.
94.
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that. But I had played with Laverne Baker for
Right. And that was the other
Oh,
person
wow,
I wanted
yeah.
to ask you about was Laverne and the story
yeah.
with her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because now you did a ton of gigs with her.
Yeah.
And Laverne Baker, for those who don't know, is the gal that had a lot of R&B hits like Tweedledee and Jim Dandy to the Rescue.
I Cried a Tear.
Right.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just a fabulous vocalist.
Yeah. Right.
Really,
right.
her and Ruth Brown were kind of the two big sellers on Atlantic Records.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And she had a lot of hits that were covered by a lot of different people.
You're right.
Yeah.
And a lot of stories about
And a lot of stories about
on
being
the
ripped
road.
off.
Yeah, about being ripped off. And Jackie Wilson, she got Jackie Wilson his start. You know, he was like a lover.
Wow.
And she heard him sing. He would sing to her, and she just thought it was, which of course we all do.
Right.
And then she took him to a record company, and they heard him sing and signed him.
Wow.
Yeah.
But she was just a fabulous vocalist.
And person.
And person.
Yeah, to me
Yeah.
anyway. I don't know her
Right.
beyond outside of that, but she was great. She
Yeah.
was sweetheart of a woman.
That's awesome.
Feisty.
Yeah. So you played with Charlie after you were playing with her.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. After that, then was Little Charlie and the Nightcats when Dobie Strange quit
Right.
playing. And I played with them for about 5.5 years.
Wow.
Something
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. What a band, man.
Yeah.
Wow. They taught me they taught me so much about showmanship and professionalism.
Right.
You know, if there was one person in the audience, they were still giving it their all.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
And they would put out if there was one person, they would sing to that one person.
Yeah.
And then after that, did you end up with Musselwhite?
Well, I played with Terry Hanck for a little bit.
Oh, okay. All right.
After that, because you know, when you're on the road, a lot, and we were on the road.
You mean with Charlie?
Yeah, with the
Right.
Nightcats. We were on the road, man. Here's an example. I'd buy something, order something, and they come in the boxes, but I got to leave the next day, so I just stuff it in my little cottage, leave for tour. You know, 5 weeks, 6 weeks later, I'd come home and open my door, and there's these boxes sitting there, and I'm looking around going, what's going on? Look at me handing the door to see if anybody's in my house, you know? And I don't remember where these came from.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then I slowly go, oh, wait a minute. These came just before I left.
Yeah.
But I was only home
What
for 2
is it?
days. Yeah, you know.
What is in?
And that's how
those
much.
boxes?
That's how much we were on the road.
Right.
Then in between that time, we did the Shadow of the Blues.
Right.
And then As Long as I Have You with John Hammond, which was very,
Oh,
very, very cool. Who was also another.
Right.
I love playing with him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're on 2 albums with those guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shadow of the Blues and with them, and then As Long as I Have You with them with John Hammond.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. After all of that, then I quit the Nightcats, and then several months later, Charlie Musselwhite was inquiring about me, you know, and
Right.
and so somebody hooked him up with me, and I joined his band, and I've been in this band now for 15 years.
That's incredible. Wow. That's a long run.
It is a good ride, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. We
And
became
has Randy been in there the whole time? He's been in there off and on a lot of it.
often. He got in there
Randy Bermuda.
after the last bass player, Chicago bass player, was no longer in, and then Randy joined,
Right.
and then Randy left to go to the T-Birds.
That's right. He was with the T-Birds for like 7 years or something. Yeah.
And then he came back after a while.
Right.
Yeah, 15 years later, here I am.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, but you know, from the way I started, had anybody told me I would come to love the blues and still be doing this, you know, these many years later, I'd laugh and just go, "You
No
crazy,
way.
man, no."
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, it's
Nope.
funny. I mean, you know, to me, blues is something that you really kind of grow into. I mean, you know, once you start to grasp what it's really about, and the depth that it's got, and the history it's got, you know, I mean, the fact that you got to play with those, you know, those older guys in the very beginning, that is so heavy.
Oh, because
I
of
mean, because
them.
Robert
Yeah.
and Johnny Shines were just, those guys were really the fathers of, you know, so much.
They were
Yeah.
like James Cotton come to town, and
Yeah.
I met him and played with him through Robert. B.B. King would come to town,
Right.
come over to his house,
Yeah,
and
he got lessons from Robert.
but they all called him Pop, you know,
Yeah,
Pops,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Papa, you know, and I knew who B.B. King was because he was, you know,
Right, he's
famous.
famous,
So
yeah.
I'm starting to go, wow, this is you know,
This
is
guy's bigger
way
than I
cool,
thought.
man. Yeah. And then before we did that Hanging On album,
Yeah.
I met, my first time out to the West Coast on tour was Robert and Johnny. And Bob Dylan was interested in producing the album.
Wow.
So he'd send the scouts out. Now, we had like a month and, you know, a few day tour, you know, all up and down the West Coast. And so he kept sending the scouts out to see, you know, about the band, you know, how's the band and how's Robert and Johnny. And they liked the band. They loved Robert and Johnny, but not together.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, which
Wow.
I can't fathom
That's strange,
to this
man.
day.
That's so strange.
And so the last night of the tour, we were in Santa Barbara or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
And we're in a suite. Me, Jimmy Lay, who's a piano player, Gino Schwartz, Robert and Johnny. And so it was this big round suite, you know. Of course, this is all new to me. You know.
Right.
And so Robert said, you know, Junior, you know, we got to have a meeting. Mr. Bob Dylan's coming on. We got to have a meeting. And so just stay in your room, you know, and I'll let you know, when it's to come out. So me and Jimmy Lay played cards in the room. And so Jimmy was like, cool guy, you know, he's going to take advantage of this young kid. So he had these dark shades on and we're playing poker. And I kept winning his money, you know, and he was getting frustrated, you know, he was, going, cussing up, you know, and then finally he starts laughing. He goes, how the hell are you doing this? And I started laughing. I said, well, you know, those shades reflect all your cards.
Oh, that's great.
I can
That's
see all
so
your cards
funny.
in your
You
glasses.
might as well have had a mirror on your
Yeah.
sunglasses. Jeez.
And so he just
That's
died.
funny.
We
Oh,
both
that's
died
great.
laughing.
That is so
But
funny.
meanwhile, I'm like $55 up, you know. And I hear laughing out in the hallway. And I hear Robert and Johnny in commotion and this other, hey, Robert, you know. And I'm like, well, what's going on? But I was still a kid. I think I was like 19 maybe.
Right.
And so I peek the door open and I see Robert and Johnny and this guy, tussling in the front room. And so I snuck out and I snuck behind Bob and jumped on his back and grabbed him to the game. And we were just laughing like kids, man. And Robert and Johnny could hardly
That's
say
great.
anything. And Robert was trying to tell me to let him up, but he was like laughing so hard. He kept, let him, and Johnny was just over there dying. Anyway, eventually, we got up and we were just all laughing about that.
So you tackled Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
You're the only person I know that ever tackled Bob Dylan.
Well, he did. I snuck up on him too.
That's great.
Yeah. That was a good time. And so then he decided not to do it, but Rounder Records. Is Rounder Records still around?
They're still around. Yeah.
They decided to do the album.
That was Hanging On?
Yeah. Hanging On. And we went in the first day and we were loading equipment in, and Robert had this big amp carrying it with Gino. And the amp fell on these graded stairs and broke his finger.
Oh, my
his middle
God.
finger. And he went into shock.
Oh.
And he just, went in socket to grab his finger, and he was walking out in the middle of the street. And I didn't know what was going on, but the sax player ran out and grabbed him and pulled him back. So he took him to the hospital. Next day, he comes back to the studio, played that whole album without using
Unbelievable.
his finger. Yeah, he used every other.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. He had a pen, a couple pins and rods or whatever in his finger, and tape. But he managed to play around it,
That
and I
is crazy.
I was like, man, wow. I thought we were gonna have to either not do it or
No kidding.
or
Put it off.
something.
Right.
And that album turned out that was my first with them, and probably my only one with them. But they won that. What was the
WC Handy
Award?
Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. I remember those. That album definitely was very, very well. I think it was nominated for a Grammy, as I recall.
It might have been.
I think so.
might
I'll
have been.
check. Yeah.
The B side of that was just him and Johnny, where they sound
Right.
like 10 guitar
That's
players.
incredible stuff.
Oh, man.
Oh, that was incredible.
Robert used to laugh and go, Junior, what do you
Yeah.
want to hear? And I'd say, and
Yeah,
he'd
those
just start
guys,
laughing.
just because those guys were such tremendous blues guitar players.
That was
and they
my
just
favorite.
had they had that simpatico thing.
Yeah, they did. Well, they knew.
They just
knew.
had the simpatico thing of how to play together with another guitar. And so many guitar players don't know how to do that.
It's a
rarity.
Becoming a lost art.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime he'd ask me what I wanted to hear, he'd laugh because he knew that I wanted to hear them do just the two of them.
The two of them,
do their thing because
yeah.
it was just mesmerizing.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
Right. Well, June, thank you. It's always been a pleasure to know you, man. You've been a great guy to know, and
Back at you,
I
man.
always love working with you.
Back at you, brother. Thank you.
You deserve all the accolades you've gotten. Believe me, man, you really do. Accolades.
Altoids.
Yeah, all the Altoids.
Yeah.
That's right.